במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום שלום, הוא יעשה שלום ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. ועל כל שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, שלום שלום ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. ועל כל ישראל, amen. Shalom once again, dear friends. We are on page 3 in the healing service for those who would like to follow along. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani ben chorim.
Amen. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivri.
Amen. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish harumim.
Amen. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam זוקף כפופים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן לאהב כוח.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המעביר שינה מעיניי ותנומה מעפעפיי. If you'll read with me, we can't pray that God makes our lives free of problems. This won't happen. And it is probably just as well. We can't ask God to make us and those we love immune to disease because God can't do that. We can't ask God to weave a magic spell around us so that bad things will only happen to other people and never to us. People who pray for miracles usually don't get miracles any more than children who pray for bicycles, good school marks, or boyfriends. But people who pray for courage, for strength to bear the unbearable, for the grace to remember what they have left instead of what they have lost, very often find their prayers answered. They discover that they have more strength, more courage than they ever knew themselves to have. Where did they get it? I would like to think that their prayers helped them tap hidden reserves of faith and courage which were not available to them before. The widow who asked me on the day of her husband's funeral, "What do I have to live for now?" Yet in the course of the ensuing weeks finds reasons to wake up in the morning and look forward to the day the man who has lost his job or closed his business and says to me, "Rabbi, I'm too old and tired to start all over again," but starts over again nonetheless. Where did they get the strength, the hope, the optimism that they did not have on the day they asked me those questions? I would like to believe that they received those things from the context of a concerned community, people who make it clear to them that they are cared for, and from the knowledge that God is at the side of the afflicted and the downcast. This was written by Rabbi Harold Kushner, who visited this congregation some 25 years or so ago. He wrote a book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, which contextualized the loss of his son. This was one of the things that he wrote. And so at the top of page 5, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar et האדם בחוכמה וברא בו נקבים נקבים, חלולים חלולים, גלוי וידוע לפני כיסא כבודך, שאם מפתח אחד מהם או יסתם אחד מהם, אי אפשר להתקיים ולעמוד לפניך. ברוך אתה אדוני רופא כל בשר ומפליא לעשות. Blessed are you, O God, who performs the miracles of creating and of healing. And so for those who care for us, Blessed are those who care and turn their caring into deeds. Nurses, doctors, compassionate healers, keen minds that struggle to maintain life, skillful hands that bathe, feed, soothe, and change the bed and wipe the brow. All your medicine isn't in needles, pills, or IV tubes. You heal with your gentle touch, with your honest smile, and friendly moments of talk. You heal with your eyes, no panic there or anger or disgust, just kindness and competence, matter of fact, Menschlichkeit. Blessed are the caregivers, bringers of comfort and hope, those who use their gifts of heart and mind to do God's work. To wake up in hospital early in the morning to the prospect of a pointless day and feel set in the flesh of your heart the teeth of despair gnaw and pierce through the eye of the minutes with a weary hand. To feed the rotten thread of life over and over again, what do the healthy know of such an hour? In the hospital now the day grows dark. Already night rules. Softly in its wake descend, reconcilement and peace. The doctor's footsteps are heard in the hall. Gently the comforting hand touches yours. What do the healthy know of such an hour? Kol ha-neshama hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol ha-neshama hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol ha-neshama The rabbis say that there are 4 angels who surround us always. Michael, the angel of closeness on our right side, Gabriel, the angel of strength on our left, Ariel, the light of God in front of us, and Raphael, the angel of healing behind us. Why is the angel Raphael, the healing which we all seek, so desperately behind us? The rabbis say that this is because a person cannot heal oneself. Although we may all want healing, we need someone to tap us on the shoulder so we can turn around and see Raphael, see our ability to heal behind us. When we turn around to face our friend, we turn to face our healing. And so may the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who live with mental illness, our caregivers, families, and friends. May we walk in the footsteps of Jacob, King Saul, Miriam, Hannah, Naomi, who struggled with dark moods, hopelessness, isolation, and terrors, but survived and led our people. Just as our father Jacob spent the night wrestling with an angel and prevailed, may all who live with mental illness be granted the endurance to wrestle with their pain and prevail night upon night. Grace us with the faith to know that though, like Jacob, we may be wounded, shaped, and renamed by this struggle, still we will live on to continue an ever-unfolding, unpredictable path toward healing. May we not be alone on this path, but accompanied by our families, friends, caregivers, ancestors, and the divine presence. Surround them with loving kindness, grace, and companionship, and spread over them a sukkot shalom, a shelter of peace and wholeness, and we say,
Amen.
Amen. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone in our family and community. It traverses social classes, ethnicity, religion, and race, and we in the Jewish community are not immune to the pain and the loss addiction brings to the sufferer, to family, and to friends. Addiction covers behavior and substances from pornography, gambling, sexual addiction, alcohol, tobacco, drugs, both legal and illegal. Please join me in the new Psalm 23, a psalm of David. With God as my sponsor, I shall not want. You make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me to sit back, relax, and listen with an open mind. You restore my soul, my sanity, and my health. You lead me in the path of sobriety, serenity, and fellowship for my own sake. You teach me to think, to take it easy, to live and let live, and do first things first. You make me more humble and grateful. You teach me to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things I can, and give me the wisdom to know the difference. Though I walk through the valley of despair, frustration, guilt, and remorse, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff comfort me. You spread a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Rationalization, fear, anxiety, self-pity, resentment. You anoint my confused mind and jangled nerves with knowledge, understanding, and hope. No longer am I alone, neither am I afraid nor sick, nor helpless nor hopeless. My cup runs over. Surely sobriety and serenity shall follow me every day of my life. One day at a time, 24 hours at a time, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever and ever. Amen. Ozi vezimrat ya vayehiri lishua. Ozi vezimrat ya vayehiri lishua.
אתה יצאת, אתה נפחת בי, ואתה משמרה בקרבי. זמן שהנשמה בקרבי, מודה אני לפניך. אדוני, אלוהי, אלוהי אבותיי, ריבון כל המעשים, אדון כל הנשמות, ברוך אתה אדוני, אשר בידו, נפש כל חי, ורוח כל בשר.
We take a moment of silent prayer and meditation. You may choose to read the prayer the victims of family violence, Reb Nachman's prayer, or the prayer for victims of sexual abuse. We'll join together in just a moment with the Mishaberach. Those we hold dear in our hearts. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu, the souls in need of healing with refuah shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us sing Amen. On page 11, please join with me in these words by Rami Shapiro, Unending Love. We are loved by an unending love. We are embraced by arms that find us. Even when we are too proud for soothing, we are touched by fingers that soothe us. Even when we are too proud for soothing, we are counseled by voices that guide us. Even when we are too embittered to hear, we are loved by an unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us, even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us, even when we are too weak for meeting. We are loved by an unending love. Embraced, touched, soothed, and counseled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. And so there is a tradition when we come to Torah, when we have passed through a life-threatening situation, to say these words: Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shigemalani kol tov. And then the community would answer, Amen, mi shigemalchem kol tov, hu yegemalchem kol tov selah. In English, blessed are you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, who graciously bestows favor upon the undeserving, even as you have bestowed favor upon me. And the response, Amen. May the one who has been gracious to you continue to favor you with all that is good. seated. And so, Kevin, I don't know where even to begin in an introduction, and I'm not even going to try because we're running half an hour late, and that's robbing you of time to speak. So rather than spending another 5 minutes introducing you, I'm going to get you to come up here.
Up here?
So that, well, I can give you a lapel mic or that mic, the desk mic. Here's better. Then I'm going to give you a lapel mic. Hold that thought. I have to get undressed. Don't all be shocked.
Thank you. Yeah.
Your belt.
There's not a clock here, is there?
You had about 25.
Oh, I won't take that. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I turn this down, or is that is the she's in control? Thank you. Thank you for everybody for coming. I'm not sure how this contribution came about. I think it arose out of a discussion between me and Muffy Hand. And 10 minutes later, I realised that I had to speak with you today. And I'm pretty pleased about it, really, because you have been my Jewish community for a long time, since 2014. And for me to be standing here in front of you, everybody assembled, is really special. But I have a particular reason for saying that, because I'm the first member of my family, being a Jewish person, to stand in a synagogue for well over 100 years. My Jewish family ancestry originates from London, and through that many generations back to Amsterdam, but the line was interrupted in circumstances that I will explain. But I really think I should share with you the fact that I am just immensely proud to be restoring a connection that goes back that far in this particular synagogue, which I love so much, whose people have made me feel so valued. It really is extremely special. One of the reasons that I find the synagogue so inspiring is the healing service. Thank you for Cantor and those who've just shared that service with us. There are aspects of this that are very meaningful to me. Just to be short, the prayer for mental illness is especially meaningful. I remember my wife Tricia and my late daughter Jessica, who died of mental illness some years ago. I repeat in my mind and my heart the prayer which has been given for her, and I ask you to share her memory with me. She was a remarkable young woman. And I also ask you to share a prayer with me for my late father. He was not Jewish. He was a wonderful man who taught me much, but he was an addict, unfortunately. He was an alcoholic. He did not recover from addiction. He died an alcoholic, but he died a loving father and a loving husband. And I think I should say to him now, I would wish him to be proud of the circumstances that I hope he can now observe. I hope he has found recovery where he now is. Now, the reason I'm really here is to talk with you about three things, only two of which I have time to discuss. The subject of today is healing, but in the context of a bigger subject being truth and reconciliation. So really my subject is truth, healing and reconciliation. And the two particular areas that I want to discuss are my work in the Aboriginal community and something about the subject of intergenerational trauma, which Rabbi Morgan opened today, which really touched me, Rabbi, the sermon that you gave today, the drush you gave today, for reasons which I will explain. The way that I want to, in the time available, enter the subject of the significance of truth, healing and reconciliation so far as Victoria's Aboriginal community is concerned is by sharing with you the story of William Cooper. Some of you will know a little bit about William Cooper, but I know quite a lot about William Cooper. I've visited the place of his birth Maloga and Camaraganja on the opposite side of the Murray in New South Wales. I visited his grave. I visited his home. I know his ancestors. The man is truly remarkable. He was a Yorta man. He was born in about 1860. No one is really quite sure. He lived to a great age. And in 1938, on the 8th of December, 1 month after Crystal Night, he did a remarkable thing. He walked from his home in Footscray in procession with a group of Aboriginal people, and he presented himself at the then premises of the German embassy on the corner of Swanson Street and Collins Street to protest against the fact of Crystal Night. Now, the very fact that he knew that it had happened is remarkable when you really think about it. You know, this is not the internet age. This is 1938. Quite how a man living in Footscray of that age and his community managed to find out that the most terrible thing had been done to Jewish people on the other side of the world as an act which virtually commenced the Shoah, I am not sure. But he did discover that. And he, I think, felt that he should do something about it. And I don't believe that he did that purely as an act of protest. I think he did that because he felt an empathy with the profound damage that was being done to people and peoples in that particular event. I believe that he did it not just as an act of protest, but as an act of healing on his part. I believe that William Cooper was really showing us the way, and he certainly showed me the way, that a sense of connection with other people, that a sense of responsibility for what happens to them is not just a political act, but an act of profound moral and personal responsibility which constitutes a certain wholeness. It's done, in other words, as much as anything from the soul place, not the action place. I want to come forward now to the work that I do, and that work is as a commissioner with the Yoorrook Justice Commission. The Yoorrook Justice Commission is a royal commission. It's constituted in Victoria. The work of the commission is to examine the injustices of colonisation upon the Indigenous peoples from their point of view, and it's due to report in a couple of years on that. You'll all be aware that there are treaty processes underway in the state of Victoria. Obviously, this is connected with that. The idea that being that treaty should be based on truth, that reconciliation should be based on truth, that coming to terms with with the injustices of the past is a necessary condition to forming a relationship based on respect and equality with those respected. The commission is made up of 5 people, 4 Aboriginal people and 1 non-Aboriginal person, being myself. I do, standing here addressing this subject, want to repeat the acknowledgement of country which has already been given, and that acknowledgement is an acknowledgement that I do extend to the Bunurong and the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, whose land this is. Healing is something that I believe is really close to the Jewish heart, because after all, a lot of hurt has been done for which there must be healing. And I, in the 2 contexts in which I live, this Indigenous context and this Jewish context, have become extremely conscious of the significance of intergenerational trauma. I have spent an enormous amount of time in the last 18 months with Indigenous people and Indigenous families, and I can say to you that the the trauma of dispossession and the trauma of dislocation is extremely real to them. It's not an historic fact. Just like the Shoah is not an historic fact to us. It's extremely real. It's a present reality. It's a lived experience. It's a living experience. And for me, the experience of speaking with them about the impact of colonisation is precisely an act of that wholeness on my part. It comes from that soul place, which I shared with you before in respect of William Cooper. So for me, it's not just a mitzvah, which it plainly is, but it is something from which I obtain great personal benefit. This sense of connection with people who themselves have suffered by reason of that place which I now occupy being taken away from them. I could give you example after example of this sense of trauma being experienced, but I'll give you but one because it's a very interesting one, and it happened on a public occasion. So I'm not betraying confidences by telling you about this. You'll know Lydia Thorpe, of course, a very strong senator, Green senator, who is a powerful advocate for her people and her cause. Her father is Robbie Thorpe, who himself a remarkable individual. Their history goes back to Lake Tyers on Gunai-Kurnai country on the lake's entrance side. Robbie Thorpe is an elder of very, very great distinction. He'd be in his 70s plus, an interesting man, an intelligent man, a lawman. He holds law for his people. It should be recognised in our law, the law that he holds. He's a great custodian of the law of his people. We were in a yarning circle talking about colonisation, and I'll never forget, because Robbie Thorpe is a man more known for power of advocacy than for power of emotion. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and he said that he experiences, not exactly these words, but pretty close. He experiences a sense of profound grief at being ripped from Mother Earth. And he was not joking. He was seeking to explain to me that the strength of the connection that he has with his country is that of a child with its mother. And he has, in a sense, been forcibly taken from his life source. My explanation, my words, not him. And it was a privilege for me to share that moment with him, and as a white person and a settler and a beneficiary of the taking, I felt especially honoured that he should seek to share this with me. And I'm wanting to repeat that point, that of course my doing that was a mitzvah, but it was a mitzvah which made me whole, helped him heal a little bit, and certainly helped me to do so also. Enough of that. Time of racing. I don't want to take up the full time. We need a 5-minute break. I'm sure you all do. So allow me to share some observations about my own personal situation from the point of view of this question of a little bit of intergenerational trauma. My mother and my father were not Jewish. She actually is, but I was not raised Jewishly. I was raised a Catholic. But her eldest brother, my eldest uncle, was a Hyman Henry Fleming. His father, my grandfather, on my mother's side, was a Hyman Henry Fleming. His mother, following the line up, was a Rachel Hannah Fleming nee Levi. Her father, my great-great-grandfather, was a Hyman Henry Levi. And so that line went up for a very long time back to Amsterdam. John Fleming, Rachel Hannah's husband, was Jewish also. So my grandfather, Hyman Henry Fleming, born of John and Rachel, was definitely born Jewish. He was and would have been raised Jewish in the vicinity of Mile End Road in London, where the family lived. He fought in the Great War twice on the Western Front, and he survived and came back to marry the love of his life, Beatrice Grace Clark, not Jewish, a Catholic. That happened in about 1919. In the same year in which this synagogue was established, in 1929, Hyman and Beatrice and 5 children got on a ship, the Beltara, and came to Australia, leaving their British life behind. They were not met at the dock by a rabbi. They left all of that life behind them. And I've had cause to reflect upon this because all of that life, that history, remarkable history of Jewish commitment, of Jewish life over generations, was just cut, just like that. And it's made me reflect on myself because I've only discovered this more recently. And I was certainly not whole for a very long time in my life. And this synagogue has helped me to come to terms with that sense of loss and to assist me to regain that sense of wholeness. But Rabbi Morgan, I've reflected upon this question of intergenerational responsibility a lot over previous years, and I've really come to the conclusion that this young family of Hyman and Beatrice having children was probably disowned because the man married out. It's the only explanation of which I can really come to, and I therefore reflect upon the consequences of this disownment for them, and the consequences of that disownment for me, and how life would have been different had that decision not been made. But of course, I also reflect upon the significance of Reform Judaism as a body of principle which is embracing and inclusive from this point of view, because that would never have happened here. Never have happened here. And it's been part of my own healing to reflect upon a place which I really, where I really do want to be, working within a body of not just spiritual but moral principle in which I truly believe. And so, Rabbi Morgan, I very much appreciated your remarks this morning on intergenerational aspects. I would ask the congregation to consider including more reference to the situation of Indigenous people in our sermonising and in our discussion. I think we owe it to those who have fought for us, being them, to continue the analogy with our struggle, which they saw. We should, I think, see a strong analogy with their position and embrace them in the way that they have embraced us. I applaud Jackie McGid for raising at the last board meeting the idea of inserting an acknowledgement to country in our services, which we are now doing. Now, I think I have finished exactly 5 minutes early, and And we can ask questions, yes. Are there any questions? I'm being asked if there are any questions. Yes.
I would like to ask you how in your group, how the Catholic community now addresses truth.
Yes. Yeah, sure. The question asked by Sue Morgan was that how does the Justice Commission address the question of truth? Now, this question is being asked because truth is contestable. It's being asked because there's a question in our mind about whether it's possible to say what's a fact and what's not, and to reach back in time and to say, well, this definitely happened here, or it did not. But truth is something that always needs a context. And the context of truth with respect to the Indigenous people is denial. So there has been a wholesale denial of the facts of history with respect to its impact upon them. And I don't think that's contestable. And it's certainly not contested by the government because the mandate, which determines our legal parameters of work, accepts that. So we approach the question of truth from the point of view that the story that is untold, has been denied and now needs to be told, is truth from the Indigenous point of view. So our mission, when I say that, I don't mean this in the political sense, but in the sense that it's our legal mandate to do the thing, is to record the impact of colonisation upon Indigenous people from their point of view, because that's the truth that has not been shared. That then goes on the public record, which can then be examined by all those seeking truth, and they can form their own view. Yes, Ian. I did, Ian. I did. I did, yes. I'm a human rights, yes, I did very big native title cases and lived with Indigenous communities in the outback for many, many years. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And in that connection, I've formed very, very good friends and who've been very strong teachers. And the best of my friends and the strongest of my teachers is Senator Pat Dotson, who's a Yawuru man. Yes. No, there will be many. The people are coming. I need to stop. But perhaps we can speak about this afterwards. I can give you, if we take the situation of those white people who've been kind and helpful to Aboriginal people and taken them into their homes, saved their lives, that will be a truth. From their point of view that needs to be acknowledged. But there is nonetheless an impact on the Aboriginal people. That will be a truth too. So, and there are many situations like that where the perspectives are different, essentially determined by the position of the individual or the family. So no, we're not after one truth, but we want to identify that truth which has not been told. That's fundamental. Yes. Yes, many narratives, but one not heard to date. One not heard to date. That plainly is a morally intolerable position. Perhaps we'll have another session on this. Yes. One last question.
I was just wanting to know whether you'll be applying your remarkable skill set to helping to reconcile this congregation after the turmoil it's been through.
I think we are well underway. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
We will take a few minutes break between the healing portion and the mincha service, which is supposed to start at 4 o'clock, which is 1 minute ago. So we'll take a few minutes break.